Welcome, everybody. This is Internet Marketing Unleashed. Thought for a second I might be muted. Got a very special guest on, and I'm really excited to have him. He puts on summits. He's been helping authors for many, many years. And so if you're an author, you want to make sure that you are tuned in today. And I am working with him on a book summit that starts in 4 days. So we're going to give you the link, and we're going to give you the best price possible. It's going to be free. But before I do, I want to talk to you a little bit about something that's happening in my life right now, business-wise. And that is I've been finding executive assistants and staff for a number of people that I know and people that they know. And I'm such a firm believer in word of mouth. You know, you develop the relationships, and over time, the right relationships rise to the top, and those are the people that you love working with. And of course, I am not a mass. I don't have 100,000 people on my personal email list, although I do work with a company that I'm president of a company that has millions of people on their email list. But when it comes to the work that I do personally, it's very much relationship based. And I'm human. I forget things. I mess up. I make mistakes. And unless you're not human, I would assume that you're going to have the same situation happen from time to time. And in my particular case, one of the people that I found to do work for, one of my friends, has done poor work for personal reasons. In other words, she's been distracted because of COVID. People in her family have contracted it, and it's causing a lot of problems. And the problem that it caused for us, or for me, is poor work. And there's kind of two choices. One is to ignore it and just sort of, shrug your shoulders and just say, it'll get better. And that the ostrich, process, put your head in the ground, never really works. When there's a problem, you need to deal with it, particularly when it's a problem with a client. You need to deal with it as fast as you can and in the best ways possible. And when you do that, what happens is the trust builds. It's one of these paradoxical things. I screwed up. I was supposed to, be here at the meeting at noon, and it's 12:15, and I'm really sorry. I'll make sure that doesn't happen again, or I'll try to make sure that doesn't happen again. I'll do my best. I apologize, and you move on, as opposed to I'm 15 minutes late and just ignore it because people know. And then that takes money out of the emotional bank account. So the situation I'm in is the person knew 10 days ago, there was a problem. But for whatever reason, they didn't tell me. They didn't say, this is a problem I've got. So for 10 days, until somebody noticed that the work wasn't being done very well, nothing happened. 10 days ago, I could have got some help for this person so that the work could have got done. They could have looked after their family stuff, and everyone would be happy. Now nobody's happy, right? So now today is the day. Last night, 10 o'clock, I guess, is when I found out. Today, I'm in meeting with those people. I have a plan of action on how we're going to fix things, because most people don't care, if you're sick or if you've got family issues. They have a set of jobs that need to be done. And if you're a freelancer, or you're a virtual assistant, or remote staff worker, then you need to make sure that the work gets done. And if you can't get it done, you're not alone. There's a team around you that can help. And I think that message, applies to just about everybody, because, and I know for me, for decades and decades and decades, I was like, I'm going to go tell my boss about this problem after I've solved the problem, right? Because if I bring him the problem, he's going to be yelling at me and all that, blah, 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 blah. So, but that's, the way it was in the 70s and the 80s, and we're now in the 2020s, and hopefully we have a little higher level of emotional intelligence, a little more understanding. We've gone through this massive worldwide crisis, and I would hope that our level of empathy for people has risen as opposed to dropped. So I guess my message in the beginning here, my little rant, is when you have a problem and you know that you are not doing, because we all know when we're not performing at a very good level, and we can't all perform at championship levels all the time. You know, you need to have, even if you are like the world's best at something, and let's just take sports, there's downtime. Your body needs to rest, it needs to rebuild and everything else. So you can't be going at, super speed, rock star level all the time. We're always going to have dips. But when you know that you can't think straight, because, and this is where awareness, emotional intelligence talks a lot about awareness, comes in. Like, I'm not doing a very good job. So boss, I did this once when I was 25. I was an assistant manager at a grocery store. It was a small grocery store in a really bad area of town. And one day I'm working and I am just like, I can't get anything done, not because I'm being interrupted or customers or anything else. I just can't get anything done. And about 4:30, I go into the boss's office and I sit down and I just look at him and I say, you know what? There's one guy in this store who's just really done nothing all day, and you need to have a real good talk with him, boss. And he looks at me and he's shocked and he's like, oh, what? Because he doesn't want to yell at anybody. Who's Scott going to sick me after? And he goes, who? And I go, me. I said, today, I don't think I got anything done. I don't know why. I just was dragging my butt. And so we had a big laugh about it. And the next day, whatever fog I was in was gone, and I was back to the races. So we all have those days. Sometimes they're weeks, sometimes there's months. And if they're years, you have a huge problem. So self-awareness is so important. Like, we know, but we lie to each other, ourselves, right? Like, I know I did a really bad job today. I really got nothing done, but I'm going to pretend that I did, right? And so we buy these lies we tell ourselves, which means our self-awareness drops down and we're not really aware of what's going on. And then our problems become bigger and bigger and bigger because we have learned to ignore all the warning signs. And I'm guilty of this. I've been guilty of this for probably 55 of my 63 years. I'll give myself a pass for my first 8 years of life. And it's a normal thing. But if you work on the self-awareness and you say, okay, this is the level of job that I want to be doing. This is my standard. Sometimes I'm going to be way above it. Sometimes I'm going to be way below it. But if I'm going to be way below it to the point where all the tasks are not getting done, then I'm not going to be getting them done, I'm going to be taking time off, then you need to give the people that are affected as much notice as possible so that they can adjust. And when it comes to cultures, so this is quite a rant. A lot of people hide behind their culture. My culture is mañana, so not going to get anything done. And we can deal with that if we know that's your culture, but we also know that that's not your culture. Because there's lots of people in your culture that it's ahora, like today, this hour gets done. So I was told everybody in Colombia is between an hour and 2 hours late if they're not a day late. So when I say, let's go for coffee at 2 o'clock, and I'm there at 5 to 2 and they're there at 4 minutes to 2, I'm shocked, really. But they're all like that. All the people I know, they show up when they say they're going to show up, except one. There's one person that seems to want to push me to the limits in terms of being late. But I don't need to deal with that person. I can just say, you know what? This isn't how I want to live my life. So, goodbye. And it's a personal friend, not a work colleague. So that's kind of an easy thing to do. So the point is that we can tell ourselves lots of lies that just create bigger and bigger and bigger problems and erode trust. Or we can sit down and we can be as self-aware as we can be, which is like any other muscle. You need to work at it and just say, okay, today, how did I do? Not very good. I missed a whole bunch of things. Everybody has somebody to talk to, whether it's the person that you that hired you, or the person that is your boss in a typical organization. And you go to them and you just say, hey, this is what's happening, right? Nobody wants you to fail. I shouldn't say that. There are people that want you to fail, and you find out really quickly who they are. And if they're your boss, start looking for another job, because sooner or later he's going to fail you right out the front door. So if the people you're working for are not supportive, keep an eye out for people that are supportive, and then when you can, go, because you need to be with people who are willing to help with you, work with you, and care about what's going on. There's lots that don't, but there's lots that do. So don't be stuck with the people that are abusive. I can't believe I need to say that, but so many people are in abusive personal and business relationships. Get out of them. And the part of getting out of it is just being aware that you're in it, and then making a decision, I want to get out of it, and then watch for opportunities, because God brings them, get you out of those situations all the time. But we're so stuck in our lives, we don't see them. That's my opinion. I could be wrong for you. It's the way it is for me. So if you have a problem, solve the problem, and solve all your problems as fast as you can, because life becomes really good when you're on the other side of all of your problems. When you've got your problems, you're stressed out. So find ways to fix it. And the way to fix it, one way that guarantees you that you will not fix it, is watching Netflix. If you binge watch Netflix all the time, you're not going to solve any of your problems. So you need to get all the junk out of your life, some quiet time, and start evaluating where you are and what you're doing. So this was aimed at one person. I hope that it was helpful for more than one person. And that person is me. I just had to vent, and you got to listen to it. So with that, coming up in 4 days is the free-ebooks.net Book Profit School 2.0. And I don't think I'm really I'm kind of like the sponsor pretend host. The real host is going to be joining us in about 10 seconds. A good friend of mine. And we got together because we put out stuff, and when people said to us, can you support my project? And in this case, it was BC Stack. And he said yes, I said yes, and I had a problem. My guest canceled at the last minute. So because I was in BC Stack, I said, well, who here, because these are people that are supporting Dan Morris and his project, they're giving people. So I thought, well, that qualifies as someone that I'd like to talk to. And so I went through and I said, okay, who's an author? This was on my free-ebooks.net live stream, which is an hour before this one. And his name popped out. So I emailed him and one other person, and he responded immediately, said, absolutely, Scott, a couple of days from now, love to be on your show. And so he got on my show. And then one of the things that happens when you take action is, who knows? So after we were sort of done the show, I said, blah, blah, blah. And he said, blee, blee, blee. And we went da, 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 and do, do, do. And the next thing you know, I'm part of a summit that he's going to be putting on, and he's helped me put on he's helped me, I've helped him. We're putting on a summit together that he's really the host of for my free ebooks audience and authors. So we're really excited about that. Our goal is to get 500 of our authors in there, and I think we're almost halfway, and we've got 2 more days to go. So we've just been promoting it this week. And so with that, I want to ask everybody to give a nice, warm, yay, welcome to Ray Brennan. How are you doing, Ray?
Scott, how are you? Sorry, I was just watching my Netflix channel here on the other monitor. Cobra Kai. No, I haven't even seen that yet.
Cobra Kai, yeah, that's huge. And then there's another one, Tiger Guy or Tiger Lady or something that was huge. And
yeah, I haven't got into those yet. I do try to decompress with a documentary on there if I can. Actually the Tony Robbins one was really good. I watched that last week finally. I Am Not Your Guru.
Right.
It was alive from a few years back. They followed him to one of his Date with Destiny events, and some of this stuff, I mean, the people have gone through that go to the events. It was
Pretty incredible.
Yeah, it was pretty incredible. And they're behind the scenes with him and stuff. So it was kind of
cool.
fun. Yeah.
Yeah. And I don't mean that you should never do anything entertaining.
No, I'm just kidding.
No, but I think some people watching or listening might think that's the case. But the problem is that most people get up at 6:30. They take an hour or two to get ready. Then they go to work, to drive for an hour. They work for 8 or 9 or 10 hours. They get home at 7 or 8 at night. They put their feet up. They've got McDonald's on the way home, and they turn on the tube and they just want to numb their head. And that becomes a really hard habit to break. So it's not, and this is where self-awareness, like, what do you want to do in your life? Well, that 40-year plan, we know the result. People are fat, people are having heart attacks, they've got diabetes, and we just have to look at the national health statistics, and you see that, right? So,
and they're not happy, right? I mean,
they're not happy.
It's or they're popping onto
the drugs,
social media, and and getting a bunch of angriness from everybody else. So
we're telling people, don't binge on Tiger Guy, binge on the Book School 2.0, particularly if you're an author.
Well, I think if you can binge on something that's going to help you, obviously, and that's what that summit's about. In fact, I'm constantly trying to figure out how to help people binge on summits in the sessions so that they can absorb more useful information than just what the relationship statuses of these people on this this episode of this show.
Right.
And I tell you that it's good for summits. We're working on ways we put them in apps and things like that, but your phone apps, because people carry their phones around. I've been testing that, and I may do you and I talked about another summit you're going to be on. That may be a phone app only summit, because I've noticed people consume a lot more if they can just walk around with their headphones in and listen to it.
Very true.
But it's tough. You get on there and there's stuff that's interesting. You can, there's obviously things you can learn. But if you could binge watch something that's useful to your life, then that helps. And it's sometimes that feels like, it's easier to, what you said, dumb down or numb it. If I got a choice between a documentary and that something I'm going to learn from, and just this episode of,
The Office,
Breaking Bad, or The Office. I mean, it's like, I know this is going to be easy, and I'm tired. Right. And this one might take some thinking. So should I do it? But every time when you actually play it, it doesn't take a lot of thinking. You're just absorbing stuff, and you don't have
Right.
But anyway,
so instead of spending an hour watching 2 Office shows, what I like doing, because I enjoy comedy, like I find sometimes, we need to laugh more. So if you've got some comedians that you like, what I love about YouTube is they generally put like 3 or 4 minute clips of their shows on there. So I can watch it and then it stops. And then when it stops, that's a break. I can turn off YouTube and I can go back to work. And I've taken my, 6-minute laughing break, and then I'm ready to go back to work. Because I don't believe that, particularly those of us in front of computers, that we should be staring in front of our computer for 9 hours straight. I don't think that's a good idea either, right? We need to get up, move around. We need to change our thoughts a little bit from time to time from what we do. I know that if I have a problem and I go walk in the woods and don't think about it, an answer pops into my head. So, we're not saying do one thing or another. But having said all that, let's talk a little bit about the Book Profit School.
Yeah. So, I mean, the whole idea came to me from my own experience. I've published on the first book. We, did the right things, hit bestseller. And then I thought, I'm on easy street. I got the royalties are going to be coming, and everything's great. And then a couple weeks later, you realize I'm going to make $20 a month or $100 a month from this book. That is not what I expected. And then you get this, for me anyway, it was, but I've talked to a lot of people about this. It's kind of depressing when you hit that point. You had this idea built up in your head about what a book will do for you, and it does amazing things. And I'm not, because I'm a book guy, and but you've got to realize what the role of a book is in most cases. And especially for nonfiction, the role is not the breadwinner of the family. It's to build authority. It's to get people to know you better. It's a marketing tool. It's a sales page for you and whatever else you've got. But you've got to realize that there's something else on the back end of that is going to really make the money for most people. That being said, there are people that make great royalties. And for instance, Mark Recklau, one of my friends, he does, well into 5 figures a month in royalties. And all he does is run Amazon ads 1 hour a day. So I interviewed him because we have a whole section on, okay, let's improve your royalties. And you can do that with, illustrations, proper editing, book cover, all this. So we've got a 1 day of sessions just on improving your book. But the other 4 days are devoted to what are those other things? Because I see people out there and I'm like, they're not living on this $100 a month. They're making money. So I wanted to start exploring that. And that exploration changed me, as you mentioned earlier, from, I still help people launch their books and get bestseller, but that's more of a title or a ego-driven piece or authority piece. But summits themselves is one of the topics we talk about in this summit that authors should do, and that helps people make money. So I've actually pivoted to that, and I help people put on their summits. But in there, I've got Navid Moassis. He's the godfather of virtual summits. He's got one of the best courses out there. He's in there. I've got Nick Stevenson, your first 10,000 readers, on there. Matt McWilliams for affiliates. Troy Broussard he talks apps. Angie Norris is creating your own Roku channel. Rob Kosberg's got multiple $1 million book funnels. Nathan Anderson, he's from Frank Kern's. He's Frank Kern's VP of marketing.
He's a great guy. I really like.
Yeah, he's just talked to him yesterday, and so Tanya with Speak Engagements.
And then there's this guy,
Stu McLaren. Memberships.
No. This guy.
Oh yeah, that's some wackadoodle.
Oh, then this guy.
There. Now that's a good. And this is what I love about this, because I met you after I'd run a version of this and of Book Profit School, and I'm like, this is exactly what we need to know. Let's talk. I mean, you're the one that initiated all that, but it was like I talked to you for 5 minutes. I'm like, I need your interview on here, because creating a digital asset, from your book, just another thing you can do to improve the back end. And we've got masterminds and coaching and all the things you can do with your book. And we've got a lot of mindset things. There's, Mark with the YouTube channel, Derek Depker. It's a great conversation. David H. Lawrence is 17th. He's an actor in Hollywood. He's our good friend,
Daniel Hall.
Daniel Hall. We talked about the hero's journey. It's an amazing session. And so a lot, these are all people I reached out to and said, I want to know what they're doing. And, Marie, that's a great one too. Gundi, Marie, if you go up one more, there's, that's another person. She was a client of mine. And I said, oh my gosh, I need to know what you know. And let's talk to people about getting a TEDx gig. And that's her groove now. And she's been doing that for 4 or 5 years, and she knows how to get people on TEDx. She does it for you. So it's a great session, but she tells you what you need to know if you're going to do it on your own in that session. So, it's really amazing. And
it's a lot of information, and it's a lot of actionable information as well. I think.
Well, I think, the biggest issue is somebody gets a book out there and they're like, okay, it didn't do what it didn't make me the money I thought. But which is
the majority of people.
Right. But the problem is, what do I do next? I don't even know what I can do. And what we tried to guide all those sessions where it's like, okay, someone's got their book, or they're thinking about writing their book. What should they do next if they want to follow this path? And that's kind of the way those interviews went. And and we made sure every interview ended with, what are the first steps somebody can do if they want to follow this path to a membership site, or to a coaching program, or to a mastermind. And that was the difference. And, I really like it because it's as the summit host, I was getting coached by every one of these people for free. So and you can too if you go watch it and consume it, and
it's free.
Do your Netflix binge watching and consume as much of this as possible. And of course, we've got, you can buy access to them for a lifetime, but you've got 48 hours on each video to watch them, and so. And even now, this last version, the 2.0 version, we've created a guide. So if you go into it thinking you want to be you want your book to lead to coaching clients, then we say, here's the sessions we would watch. So make those your priority. Right. And then, if you want to be a, consultant, or you want to have a course, here's what you should watch. So, but what I like about it is when I was creating the summit, I thought what's interesting is I thought I was creating this summit way back when originally to just create more authority. I thought it's just like a book. I'll get authority and it's amazing authority builder, but it also rapidly builds your email list. It creates income that I made more in 2 weeks from the summit than I did in 5 years of book royalties. So that's why this summit itself is one of the answers in the Book Profit School, because that's something that you thought, okay, I could make money on royalties. No, you can a little, but do something else in the back end. And that makes the whole book writing experience and being an author much more enjoyable when you have leads coming in, when you have money coming in, and the book is still this, one of your center points of your business. It's one of the engines, but realize there's a lot of things you can do around it, and you should start doing it. And a lot of times, I don't know if it's the same for you, but finish the first book and it's just like exhausted. I'll get to everything else later. But if I had thought about what I was trying to do as I was
a bigger vision,
right? If I'd known, Alinka Rukowska is in the summit, and her session's really good because it talks about she will not write a book unless she knows what the purpose is of it. Right. And that's what that whole session was about. Like, she's got a book, she does, done for you publishing. So she's got a book on how to outsource your book. And then she's got her book launch and marketing programs or whatever. And she's got a book for that leads people into that, so that it attracts the right person. And a lot of us start the opposite. I just want to write a book about this without knowing what we're trying to accomplish. And this kind of brings it together.
Which is fine. You can write a book about whatever you want, as long as you don't have an expectation it's going to make you $1 million.
Right.
If you want to make $1 million from your book, then you need to do a little bit more than just write your book.
Exactly. And I'm not poo-pooing, like, that's a huge accomplishment, writing a book. It's just, you are going to hit this point where it's like, is this all there is? Yeah. And it doesn't matter, because every question I asked the speakers, I said, answer this from the approach of somebody who's got a book now and trying to figure out how they're going to make money, and answer this from a position of somebody that hasn't written the book yet and how they should think about it. Because in all cases, you should definitely write the book and complete the book. That's a major accomplishment. Yeah. But how do you tie everything else into that, that you want to? So
yeah, what's
a lot of times we get the book done, and then it's like, okay, now what do I want to do next? If you can figure that out, and even if you got the book, a lot of people watching this probably have a book written and said, I just don't, it didn't work out, or, that's not your fault. That's just somebody has put the myth in your head, and they put it in mine and everybody else's, that you just got to write the book and everything takes care of itself. No, you're going to have to either learn marketing like Mark Recklow and just run ads and be an expert at that, or be an expert in what you wrote the book about and create some other kind of back end business. And that's what Book Profit School is all about.
Nice. Yeah. And if you're in the nonfiction, like, sort of business category, then it really becomes a lead generator. And I've just had this experience actually where a friend of mine said, Scott, I'm reading this book. It's They Ask, You Answers, the name of the book. And I love it. So I said, okay, well, if this guy's reading it, I guess I better check it out. So I read it. I got, I think, 3 chapters in, and it was just like brilliant, right? And I don't know that I've read more than the 3 chapters, because the 3 chapters was everything I needed up to that point. So I told one of my clients about the book, and I said, you really should read this book. And so one got an audio book and one bought the book, and there's 3 people. So 2 of them read it. I guess the third one's read it now. And then somehow I don't know how it happened, because I haven't been privy to that part of it, but he's now consulting them, and they're in his coaching program for how to implement everything that he taught and talked about in his book. And what was really, so that's great, but the bigger education for me, because I'm actually included in the coaching, because I'm doing the answering part of they ask, you answer. I'm creating the content. I'm not creating the content. I'm producing the content. They're doing the talking, and I'm making sure they look good. And but I'm in this coaching session with their coach, and I'm like, man, just listen to how he talks and how he presents and the different sentences that he uses and the questions that he asks. This alone is a master class because all the things that he's saying, I'm thinking, if we could just get them to say that about but tweak to their industry, right? And they noticed the same thing. They said, holy smokes, like the communication that this professional coach, high-level coach has is absolutely amazing, right? Obviously experience and everything else. So there's like 4 levels of learning going on at the same time. And when you write a book and you're an expert in your field, then the next thing is like, how do you communicate that with your audience? And then if you want coaching clients, your coaching clients, and they're paying a small fortune for 2 years of coaching from this company, right? So they've made the long-term commitment. They're enthusiastic about it all. They know I'm going to keep them on track, and it's really amazing. So I've just had an experience where somebody who probably gets $50 a month from his book, and maybe it's $1,000. Who cares? It's not $1 million a month, because I'd never heard of the book, right? So I think it's a bit of an underground book, and he's making a fortune on his coaching, and everybody's excited, and the process he's put together and everything else is amazing. So it's a well-oiled machine, and that's a great thing to build, because he's basically, the author has made, probably an hour worth of coaching videos, and he's got other people that have made training videos, and he's got trainers and coaches so he's sitting back just thinking, you know what, I've created this machine, and now I can live the life that I want. And I'm assuming that because I haven't asked him if he's living the life he wants.
Right.
But sure looks like he is.
Well, you bring up a good point. So it costs some reasonable amount of money to coach with him, and that's what I love about attending summits is you get to get a feel for how everybody, their person. Would that be a good fit for you to coach with that person, or follow more of their guidance? So, and it's not in a staged environment where they've created some sales video or some training for the launch of their product. This is like, hey, I'm asking you questions. I'm interacting, and I don't it's not, they can't hold back anything, because I'll keep prodding for more information.
That's right.
And
they don't
and that's what it is. It's just a natural environment, so you're going to see their personality, you're going to see the information they have, and you see if you like it. And you see Brian Cohen, Anthony Costa, there is a fiction track. So if you're a fiction author, Brian Burney runs ads for fiction authors. Karen Ferrara, she's
I want to see Brian's talk.
Yeah, sure. I mean, he's just got it, hit it down. Kat's my editor. Kyle Gray talks about storytelling. So there is a whole track on fiction. Of course, we've got let's see, I think Nick Stevenson's on here too. Carrie Richards from InfoStack. Simon talks about masterminds and so forth. There's Nick, so he talks about he's unique. He's fiction and nonfiction, and so I basically asked every question twice, one for fiction, one for nonfiction authors. Tembi, amazing high ticket coaching business. And there's a link we talked about, how to use the book to create your business, or how to use your business to create your book. And that was that interesting topic. Eric's been around. He's run one of the largest self-publishing summits himself. he talks, we titled it 30 income streams. He's got a list of them, but we talked so much. We only got through about 6, and we had to just kind of put the list on there of everything else, but it's really interesting. So Crystal Burn, that was a unique one too, where we, talked about, he's got this approach where he's grabbing other products and bundling them together and then putting them in Amazon with his book. And then you basically can raise the price of your book because it's this big bundle.
Right.
And then Paul Brody and I do summits together. So we talked about summits and I kind of summarized all the strategies so that, even that last session, I talk about the ones that I really liked and that I'm implementing myself. So
beautiful. So if anyone wants to go, I've put this link in the comments, so you can, doesn't matter where you're at, just look at the comments and you'll see it's there in our Books Cafe. I'd be the one to keep up. So Ray, thank you for coming on. This starts in a few days, the 14th, and runs till the 18th. That's 5 days, right?
Yep.
Monday to Friday.
Monday to Friday. Yep.
Cool. Next week. So head over. It's free, and consider the VIP, because one of the things I've noticed when I've gone to summits, I really like getting the VIP because I just want to feel important. No, because I remember a lot for a very short period of time. And then what happens is, what did that guy say that was so important? And now you can go back and you can review. And I remember once I bought a book by Blair Singer called Sales Dogs, and it just totally changed how I looked at sales. And the reason I bought the book was he was on stage and he talked for 45 minutes and I was like blown away. So I had to get the book because I thought, if he's this good on stage, what's in his book? Turns out nothing is in his book that he hadn't covered on stage. So I was incredibly disappointed when I finished the book because I thought, I'm not learning anything new. 3 months later, I'm like, what did he say about this? And I pull out the book, flip to the page, I read that chapter, and I'm so happy I had the book. So with the summits, it's the same thing. When you get the VIP package, you can have it forever. And there are going to be things that maybe today, that particular lecture or that summit part was not something that you were interested in, but 3 months from now, that might be really crucial information for your business. So
think of it like Netflix. I mean, if you saw that there was a 10-episode show on Netflix and you had to finish it this week, you might not start because it's just like, well, I don't think I can get it done. I don't want the stress. The premium pass is like, okay, we can watch episode 1 and 2 this week, and then next 2 next week. If it's something you're interested in. And a great way to do it too is just to check out a couple sessions, and if you like what's in there, then you're probably going to like the rest because they're all very. I'm driving them the similar way. So if you don't like it, my style, great. If you do, then you might consider it. The other thing with the premium pass, we give you, your Book Funnel University is a course we give away with the premium pass. Cloris Kiley has concluded a outreach program, or how to create your what are those fancy titles they call, how to create your media one sheet and so forth. Then, for your outreach. And then Eric Vanderhoop gave away his best of his self-publishing summit, and we got a coupon for 100 covers. So you get, that the coupon itself pays for the premium pass if you're going to do a cover at any time soon. So there's all that stuff in the premium pass. But yeah, if you ever want to go back, and a lot of times you're going to watch something and that stuff, like you say, it clicks, and then months later you're like, what was I want to get exactly that was what they said to do. And it's always there. So
great. So Ray, I want to thank you for coming on. We've reached the end of our time together today. I'm looking forward to putting on more and more summits with you. I know I've got some clients that I think would really benefit from working with you on a summit. So look excited about that. And I'm also excited about what the future holds. So thank you very much for joining us.
Thanks, Scott. It's been fun. We'll talk to you all soon.
Thanks for joining us, everybody. This is Internet Marketing Unleashed, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.